You've done it! You have done it. Confetti! Long has been your journey. It feels like only yesterday your parents were asking you, when are you going to do something with your life? And you, instead of doing something with your life, because that would be too difficult, decided to embark on an epic, God knows how many years quest of searching the plains of YouTube endlessly for that one video that you blindly assumed existed without any evidence, that existed somewhere out there in the ether, that if you found it, if only you could just, stumble upon it in your recommended feed, you would just watch that video, and the information contained in it would just magically transform your brain circuitry, and you would just continue on with your life, productively doing everything that you want to do effortlessly. And you've done it! You've done it! You're here! You did it, you assuming son of a bitch! I am proud of you. Unlike your parents. Just realized that my lapel mic wasn't working, but that's okay, because I can project! Now, at this point, you probably have a couple questions, like, oh, I thought I could find some, registered psychologist who could tell me why my life sucks. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck am I? I am Draetherion, Jacala, Solaris. I don't know, man. Call me Draysel. Call me Dre. Call me gay emo faggot. I'll respond to that too. No, but for real though, I'll tell you guys why I'm going to be talking about this topic in a second. Some of you might be asking yourselves, like, oh, this is a really long video. Like, how long is this going to take me? I haven't essayed you in an hour. First of all, procrastinating on essay. I would never. And secondly, don't worry, the way I'm going to structure this video is that I'm going to have all the short-term little hacks of how to beat procrastination at the start, and then we'll slowly move on to the medium-term, the long-term strategies for beating it. So, you'll have to watch me the first 10, maybe 15 minutes. That's 45 minutes to do your essay. Pretty good deal. And if you're thinking, oh, well, my issues with motivation are especially difficult, I have depression, right? Who are you to say that you know how the particular inner mechanisms of my mind work? What can I say? I'm psychic. I know exactly what you're doing and thinking every single second of every single day. You're procrastinating right now, aren't you? Hey? Aren't you? Timothy. I don't know who Tim is, but, there's probably some guy out there named Tim who was watching this video and he just, he freaked out. Let's just say for now that if I can get my life on track, there's hope for us all. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what procrastination is exactly, and ooh, my hair looks stupid. Let's talk a little bit about what procrastination is and how it works. What's its general mechanisms? Procrastination is essentially a natural biological principle that has slowly but steadily, through the processes of evolution, been ingrained in the human psyche. And the goal of this mechanism is essentially to just prioritize short-term, immediate threats to one's survival over long-term threats to one's survival. Getting a meal right now is a little bit more important than creating a longboat so that you can go and raid the Saxons for all of their women in gold. That's looking at procrastination from a little bit more of a biological perspective, and it's important to note that because it's a naturally occurring psychological mechanism, you can't really, cure it. You can't quite, remove the whole thing. Your motivational issues are probably an extension of that, and we want to try and minimize it, but, it's there. And to a certain extent, you have to just kind of accept that procrastination is a natural part of being human. From more of a psychological perspective, however, I would say procrastination is more or less your brain weighing up how it feels about doing a certain activity based on comparing the amount of fear it feels to the amount of excitement it feels. That's really the most simple way that you can put the mechanism of procrastination into words. And that is a good segue into our short-term methods, because ultimately what these little tricks and hacks in the short-term category are going to be doing is they're essentially going to be trying to play with the excitement and fear meters. They're going to be trying to maximize your excitement, minimize your fear, and make the gap between the two substantial enough that your brain is more so swayed in the direction of excitement and engagement, as opposed to fear and, falling back, running away, that sort of thing. So the first short-term hack to beating procrastination is, what am I afraid of? The thing about fear is that the greatest fear of all fears is the fear of the unknown, right? So if you ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And you consciously recognize whatever it is that you're afraid of, it makes getting over that fear so much easier, just because you know what it is that you're dealing with. So you might be sitting at home and you think to yourself, I should go to the gym. But as soon as you think that, all of these sort of negative emotions start to well up inside you, and immediately, automatically, without even really thinking about it, you're just kind of swayed back to the couch and the Doritos and ice cream. And part of this method is essentially, instead of just being unconsciously swayed by your emotions, it's taking a moment to pause, assessing how you feel in that present moment, and asking yourself, okay, well, I have a lot of negative emotions right now, but what are the root of those emotions? What is it that I'm truly avoiding? What am I afraid of? And so in this example of going to the gym, you might say, oh, well, I mean, I'm afraid of looking stupid in front of all of, like, the way fitter people that are there. I'm afraid of, just not being able to make it through a single rep, or maybe hurting myself. I don't want to get all sweaty and all that sort of stuff. And then what you want to do from here is you want to sort of console yourself, sort of like a loving mother, and try to mitigate those fears as much as possible, which you can now do because you are aware of them. So you might say, oh, well, the thing is, if we don't go to the gym, people are going to judge us for being out of shape. So really, going to the gym and being judged by all of those, those mega balloon men, which, who cares what they think, right? Being judged by them is a whole lot less painful than being judged by, like, literally everyone else in society. We shouldn't be too worried about getting sweaty. We can have a shower afterwards. And if we just take things nice and slow, and we go easy and we pace ourselves, I'm sure we won't hurt ourselves. You do that sort of thing. And what that does is it'll begin to minimize your fear. Your excitement will outweigh it. Going to the gym will feel just that little bit easier. Next method. Here's the next method. I'm just looking at my little cheat sheet here. What can I look forward to? Okay, so this is basically the counterpart to what am I afraid of. Before we were asking, what was I afraid of, and how can I mitigate that fear? Now we're asking, like, what am I excited about? What can I, sort of get hyped about? Because more often than not, when we, again, feel that upswell of negative emotion, we completely and totally forget about all of the really great things that we're going to experience along the way of going to the gym. Again, we'll just keep using this example. We'll forget about all the good things about going to the gym. So you can ask yourself, what can I look forward to? What can I get excited about? And the cool thing about the human brain is that even if it doesn't have the answers, or even if it doesn't have adequate information, because it needs to regulate your survival, and it constantly needs to give you an answer for every decision, otherwise you might die, it has evolved to provide you with an answer for any question you ask it, regardless of whether or not it has the information. So if you start asking it, what can I get excited about? What can I look forward to? What can I get excited about? And you just keep asking that over and over and over again. Eventually what's going to happen is your brain is going to come up forcefully, it has to, with all of these reasons and things and points about what you can get excited about. So again, let's run with our example of going to the gym. We can listen to some great music on the way there and while we're there. We're going to receive that awesome high we get from exercising and the endorphins. We're really going to, like, flush out our system. We're going to feel great afterwards. We get to look in the mirror afterwards and continuously check our results. I can surely convince myself that I've gone to the gym once and now I'm just, like, ever so slightly thinner than what I used to be. I can step on the scales and I can compare my weight and I can see my progress. See, I can get excited about all these things. And again, we are now increasing your excitement so that it's further outweighing your fear. And this short-term little hack or method really helps sort of get you over that original emotional hump. Short-term hack for beating procrastination number 3, purpose. Specifically, definite purpose. One of the greatest, juiciest little nuggets of wisdom that I've ever had the pleasure of reading from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, great book, is that procrastination and indecision are twin brothers. Where one goes, the other will always follow. Going back to our original definition of procrastination being the brain's comparison of excitement and fear, uh, the unknown or any form of uncertainty you have will potentially have hidden risks. And so the brain always reacts to the unknown with a certain degree of fear. It cannot be avoided. So the problem with having a vague purpose, the problem with not really knowing exactly what it is specifically, down to the most minute of details, the problem with not knowing exactly what you want in life is that this will, of course, lead to many uncertainties about the true intricacies of what it is you really, really desire. And unless you can get very, very precise as to what it is that you want, there will always be a certain level of uncertainty that the brain has to deal with about whether or not you truly want what it is that you're chasing after, because you don't even really know what it is that you're chasing after. In other words, if you're writing an essay, right, and you're procrastinating on writing this essay, what I want you to do is I want you to write an essay about your essay. I want you to write a nice, long description about exactly what it's going to be like to walk into the classroom the next day, to hand it to the teacher, how just the emotions will well up in your body as that piece of paper leaves your hand, all right? And how it feels when you get your marks back. Really think about the mark. Think about exactly what mark you want. If you think that you can achieve 95 out of 100, go for exactly 95 out of 100. If you set a specific number as to what you really want to achieve, you'll most likely achieve it. That's the thing, because your brain won't have any uncertainty about how good the essay has to be. Your brain will know, like, okay, I need to nail this essay to at least the 95th out of 100th degree, and I cannot let the ball or the bar drop any lower than that. That is the benchmark for the quality that I want. And your brain will, again, come up with any sort of answer it can in order to try and achieve that. And even if you don't achieve it, even if you don't get it exactly 95, chances are if you set that and you really, really work for it, you'll achieve something close to it at least. You might get like 93. So, if you really want 95, try aiming for 97. And that way, if you slip slightly on the 97, you'll slip down to 95, and that'll be good enough. And last for our little short-term hacks is the Japanese principle of Kaizen. Now, Kai in Japanese means minute, and Zen means wisdom. So Kaizen translates literally from Japanese to English as minute wisdom. This is a tactic that the Japanese use as a means of, again, taking away the uncertainty. Again, we're always going back to taking away the uncertainty, taking away the unknown, taking away as much fear as we possibly can. It's all about taking away the uncertainty about how much time a project is going to take. One of the really scariest things that your ego or your brain will try to threaten you with when you're trying to start a new project or achieve something new in life is they'll ask themselves, oh, how much time is this going to take? And it's easy to really get sort of caught up in like, oh, how much time is this going to take? How much time it's going to take, actually, ironically, doesn't matter at all. It's not how much time it's going to take. It's the uncertainty about how much time it's going to take. Like, if you're my friend, right, and I ask you, like, hey, man, can you do me a favor? Can you help me with this project? And you're like, I don't know, man. How long is this going to take? And I was like, an hour, maybe 50 minutes tops. Let's say 50 minutes tops, right? You'll be like, yeah, okay, you're my friend, I'd expect you to help me out if I was in trouble. I'll help you out, man. 50 minutes? That's nothing. I got 50 minutes. What's 50 minutes? 50 minutes, right? But if I ask that same friend, or if I ask you, let's say you're my friend, and I say, hey man, can you help me out with this project? And you're like, don't know, dude, how long is it going to take? And I say, well, I don't know. I mean, it could take 10 minutes. Then again, it could take 20 minutes. Could take 40 minutes if things get rough. If like this file doesn't download, if it doesn't transfer from like Mac to PC properly, that might take 40 minutes. But look, 50 minutes tops. Do you see how it's like the exact same window of time, and yet because I've created uncertainty about specifically what you should be preparing yourself for, you're all of a sudden like, oh, I don't know, I don't really want to like get involved in this sort of thing. What the real method behind Kaizen is the Japanese will literally say, okay, I am going to work on this project for literally 1 minute. 1 minute, 60 seconds, that's it. That's all the time that I'm putting towards this essay today. I'm going to spend 1 minute on this essay. 60 seconds. I'm going to like write the title. I'm going to figure out what the title of the essay is. And once that minute is up, they ask themselves, do I want to go for another minute or do I just want to quit? And they might say, oh, well, you know, I've already done a minute. I could do another minute. What's another 60 seconds, right? So they'll do another minute. And then at the end of that minute, they'll say, okay, could I go for another minute? What if I just went for 5 minutes? I mean, what's 5 minutes? It's 5 minutes, and then I can go play video games, right? 5 minutes. That's all I need to get over to do my essay. And so they'll go 5 minutes, and then they'll go 10 minutes, and then they'll go 20 minutes. Like that's really what the principle of Kaizen is doing. It's saying, all right, here's the total allotment of time. You've already done half. Do you want to do the other half? And it's like, yeah, I've already done half. I can commit to the other half. And what this principle does is it allows you to trick the brain over the hardest part about procrastination, which is just starting, right? Once you get started and you get into the flow of things, it's easy. It's just starting and the uncertainty of how long it's going to take that's the hardest part. So Kaizen gets you to start and then is continuously creating the illusion in your mind that you're already halfway to the finish line. And so you just keep going and you keep going and you keep going because every single time you're like, oh, well, I'm halfway there, may as well continue. Really, really effective. This is about as good of a short-term hack, and this is kind of like why I left it to the end of the short-term bracket hacks of how to beat procrastination. It's the most effective thing I've found. If this short-term hack doesn't get you off your ass, if this doesn't work, then you're essentially screwed for the short-term stuff. But don't you worry, I have more medium-term, more long-term strategies of how you can truly beat this sort of stuff. So, you know, if you need to go write that essay, you can click off right now. Best of luck. I wish you well. But for those of you who really want a truly deep, existential, fundamental understanding of how to really master procrastination, just kick that thing's ass, I want you guys to continue watching because I have some really important stuff to say. Actually, you know what, this isn't a bad time for me to like tell you guys exactly what I'm doing this and why I know so much, right? Because you've probably heard all of those short-term hacks and you're like, oh man, none of these work. You know, I've been clicking from video to video, they come up with all these different things, but I'm not budging. What's wrong? How do you get over this? And surely, you know, this video can't really have anything to really help me because I am, you know, chronically depressed. Okay, so here's where I talk about myself. I was chronically depressed. Like about 3 years ago. I mean, it's been a gradual sort of journey out of the self-loathing pits of hell. But I was depressed. I was chronically depressed. Like we're talking life-destroying depression. I remember there was one day where the amount of dread that I was experiencing as I was laying in bed was so deep and so awful that I lost motivation to breathe. Like, I kid you not, I was just like laying there in my bed, I inhaled, I exhaled, and then I was like, I can't be bothered anymore. You know, I'm just gonna sit here and relax and do nothing, because that is all that I'm capable of doing. And of course I started breathing again because I began to suffocate. But you understand where I'm coming from. You know how that feels, that crippling, completely enchaining kind of a depression. And I've gotten over that eventually. And the real thing I want to say going forward from this part of the video is you need to understand that all of the emotional trauma that you have stored away somewhere in the back of your subconscious, they're like bricks. That sort of stuff weighs you down. The thing about procrastination, especially if you have really deep-rooted motivational issues, is that it isn't something that you can just cure in a day, right? It is curable. I want to give you guys the hope of that, right? I have every intention of this being the very last anti-procrastination video that you ever have to watch. And then from here, you're fully equipped with all of the knowledge you need to dig yourself out of this pit. I sincerely mean that. But you have to understand that it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's like going to the gym. Oh boy, we're back here, are we? It's like going to the gym. You're not going to get ripped just after one session. You have to continuously work at it day after day. And given that I'm sort of like, I've distilled the essence of what you need to do down to a couple of key points here, and then I'm giving you all of the information that you need. You know, it took me 3 years to get even to where I am now. You know, it used to take me 3 days to build up the motivation to take out the rubbish or the recycling. Now I can do it in like 3 minutes. It will probably take you guys a year. If you guys are talented, it'll probably maybe take you 6 months, right? That's the sort of time frame we're looking at here. That's sort of like a medium term time frame, which is a good segue into the medium term methods. But keep in mind here that it's a really deep-rooted psychological issue and we're playing the long game, all right? Persistence, that's what you really need to beat procrastination. If you lack any other quality, so long as you have persistence, you will make it. You keep rolling the dice over and over and over again, eventually you're going to hit that sweet 6, you know what I mean? So, medium-term methods for beating procrastination. 1, affirmations. One of the greatest things that will hinder your ability to just do stuff in general is your beliefs. That's it. Like your beliefs, your belief that you can't do it, your belief that you have procrastination, this narrative and this story that you keep telling yourself, that sort of stuff can really weigh you down. Because you go to do something and you say, oh, I have procrastination, I have motivational issues. You know, you're working under the entire framework that things are bad and that they're hopeless, and that can really drain you of any motivation you need to get motivation. We're going sort of meta here. But yeah, you really, really, really want to make sure that even if you're admitting to that and you're saying, all right, maybe I do have motivational issues, but I can do this, right? I am a strong-willed person. I have motivation to do the things I love somewhere deep, 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 deep down inside. That, just those affirmations alone, just changing your sort of overarching belief system can change the sort of mental environment that you have to work in, and it'll provide you slightly more leverage. The reason I say that this is a medium-term hack is because you're not just going to say, oh, I have motivation somewhere deep down inside me, and then just blindly believe it, right? The subconscious mind and the brain kind of has to be groomed for that sort of stuff. You're not going to control all of your thoughts. You have to continuously, over and over again, tell yourself that every day. I have motivation to do the things I love somewhere, deep down inside my subconscious mind, my brain, somewhere. And eventually, if you keep telling yourself that, you keep, reaffirming this attitude of, yeah, somewhere down there I have the energy and I know I can do this. It will eventually change the way that you see your obstacles. The thing about the subconscious mind, right, which is really controlling most of your behavior, is that it doesn't communicate. Obviously. It doesn't communicate in terms of thoughts and concepts and words and language. It actually communicates only in experiences and emotions. So sure, the first time you say it, I have motivation, I have energy somewhere deep down inside me. To the subconscious mind, those are just sounds. Those are just meaningless words. But as you say it over and over again, and your conscious mind registers what it would be like to have that sort of energy, as it repeats this to itself. And it starts to stir up the sort of emotions that go along with those thoughts, because as you continuously repeat the same thought, you're going to attract the emotions that kind of align with that thought. Those emotions will be picked up by the subconscious mind. And then in turn, the subconscious mind, which controls all of your behavior, will make it so much easier to firmly, not just conceptually believe, but feel like you have the energy. You'll just keep saying to yourself, oh, I have the energy somewhere deep down inside me. And then one day, you're going to actually feel that energy. So affirmations. Look at yourself in the mirror every morning, every night before you go to sleep. Tell yourself, I can do this. I have the motivation. I have the energy. Really, really, really effective practice that can, over a relatively short period of time, maybe only a couple weeks, can really give you a lot of leverage, especially if you don't have something that's due to immediately, but you need to get your life on track. You're trying to instill a bunch of positive habits. It really helps you to sort of really get that grip that you need. Speaking of habits, though, second one, habits. Just generally speaking, habits, this is a kind of obvious one. I feel sort of embarrassed for writing this, because it's like, just make what you want to do a habit, so it's effortless, and then you just don't have to think about it. The thing about instilling good habits is that in order to do so, you need to get rid of bad ones. I feel like I can talk a little bit about dopamine sinks here. What a dopamine sink is essentially a sink of motivation, right? Because dopamine is sort of the chemical that's you've heard countless talks about dopamine. It's like it's the motivation chemical, it's the feel-good chemical. It'll stimulate you to do this, do that. The thing is, we have a lot of bad habits in our lives, like that obvious one that we're not going to mention because it's not exactly PG-13. I don't exactly know what rating I want this channel to have yet. Video games, doing even stuff like watching the news. You can have very subtle addictions, like an addiction to criticism. You ever know? You probably know someone who's addicted to criticism, right? They constantly have to complain and try to, there's a sort of sport to it almost, of just trying to like logically, mentally fence their way around every single issue that's coming up in the news. They always have something to say. It's just like, dude, stop, right? Chillax. Just have a lemonade. Junk food, there's another one, right? So you need to understand that all of these things that you think you want to keep in your life, an overindulgence in video games, junk food, all sorts of news, media, any kind of addiction that you have, it's going to really start to sap the dopamine that your brain naturally produces. It's going to sap those reserves. And you'll often find that if you just cut these few things out of your life, positive habits would automatically instill themselves. But that's starting to bleed a little bit more into the long-term methods. And this is where we get really, really serious. Oh, I've been talking for so long. It's getting hot in here. Ooh, the jumper is coming off. Told you we were getting serious. Alrighty. So, long-term methods. What have we got to talk about? Let's talk about daily routines. This is almost going back a little bit, backtracking a little to the short-term, medium-term ideas of how to beat procrastination. This right here, I'm going to see if I can hold it close enough to the camera so that you guys can see. Ooh, no, that's step number. There we go. It's backwards. Wow, awesome. I'm going to have to read this to you. Essentially, this is a massive general, I don't know, it's just a frame full of like pictures and directions that I've made myself. And every single one of these has a number of points, just little dot points, that give me a general guideline of what I want to do for my day. I would say this is sort of going more into the medium-term, long-term sort of category, because you really need to repeat this sort of stuff a number of times, and you really need to keep at it consistently in order to really make it a habit. Honestly, this has been my New Year's resolution, and it's May now, so we're almost halfway through the year, and I've only managed to do everything on this list once, but you want to just have it there, right? You want to have a sort of list, an obvious depiction of what you really want to do with your day, staring you in the face every single day when you get up, so that you can know how much of a failure, so that you can just keep your focus, generally speaking, and your attention on really what you want to accomplish on average every single day. And it doesn't have to be some sort of like hard militant strategy. I have here in step 8, use another hour or two to hone a secondary skill. That could be anything. Like I could just, I don't know, learn to braid my hair. I would love to learn to braid my hair because it is currently annoying me. But you guys get the general principle, right? You just need to have a general scheme of what you want your average day to be, and you can deviate off of the beaten path a little bit every single day. You can make it sort of vague and flexible enough that you can adapt it to every single day, and every single day's new challenges. But generally speaking, taking the time to make yourself something like this, just a daily routine, is going to be really helpful to, again, taking away any forms of uncertainty and focusing in on exactly and precisely what it is that you want, your definiteness of purpose. I feel like this is just me repeating points from before. Alright, let's get into sort of the emotional sappy shit, shall we? Oh, please hang properly, fuck. Gee, I sure do love breaking things for the sake of continuity errors. Alright, this video is getting long enough as it is. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap up my incessant ramblings. And let's just say that this is the long-term category in its entirety. This is how you beat procrastination long-term. We all really deep down know that the real thing that's getting in our way when we want to truly accomplish what it is that we authentically love doing is we have addictions, tons of addictions to all sorts of things. And a lot of people don't really know how to go about treating those addictions. I had a bunch of notes here written about shadow work and all of these really topics that are whole videos in of themselves that we would use to work our way out of our addictions. But short and sharp, what an addiction is it's essentially the use of a chemical or psychological pleasure as a band-aid solution for long-term emotional trauma. We all have all sorts of kinds of nightmares and demons and pains and all sorts of weird shit locked away in the back of our subconscious that slowly but steadily warp our sense of what we are truly aiming to do, where they warp what we're really capable of, and they tie us to all these sorts of things like junk food, again, and video games, and, the list of addictions goes on. I'm just talking about my own here at this point. Just hot water, I spend way too much time in the shower. But we have all of these sorts of things that we use as a means of mitigating our own pain. And one of the real long-term strategies of overcoming procrastination in general is really diving headfirst into self-help. Beating procrastination is all about slowly but steadily coming to terms with the things that we've had to struggle with in life and had to go through, and forgiving ourselves and forgiving other people, and slowly working our way to a state of inner peace and inner quietude that is going to have the fewest distractions, and as a result is going to give us the most leverage. But talking about this, it seems so abstract to most people, and it seems so far out of reach, because again, it's the long game. The whole problem with motivation is that you'll go to a psychologist or a friend, and they'll tell you all of these things that you need to do in order to overcome procrastination. Like, oh dude, you should just exercise. You should meditate, right? This will help overcome procrastination. This will help get your mind in the right mind frame. And you're like, dude, exercise and meditation is what I've been trying to do. It's what I've been procrastinating on. Like, you're essentially asking me to open the scissor packet with a pair of scissors. That's the situation I'm in. And if you take any one thing away from this video, this horrible video with horrible lighting and horrible audio quality and just me talking incessantly about this, if you take one thing away, and this is the real key, this is the most fundamental essence of how to beat procrastination right here. If you take nothing else away from this video, take away this. The main obstacle to procrastination is a lack of self-love. We all want to live this life in which the things that we truly love to do, right? Surely if we actually love doing these things, which we do, they should be effortless, but they're not. And the reason they aren't is, instead of just constantly accepting yourself for what and who you are right now in the present moment, you beat yourself over the head, you beat yourself up, and you say, hey, we can't love ourselves until we're productive enough, right? We can't give ourselves love, and we can't just accept ourselves until we complete A, B, C, D. And that's a horrible way to live, because one, that turns everything that you authentically love doing into a form of work that is only done for the sake of arriving at a particular benchmark of self-love. And even then, you're only given a portion, right? Let's say you complete what it is that you want to complete, and you say, okay, well, now I don't absolutely hate myself. Now I'm okay with my existence, right? That feeling of just kind of being okay, but still not quite being as good as what you really want to be, it's a really, really defeating feeling. And at the end of the day, even if you arrive at the end of this task and you get that little smidgen of self-love, you're constantly going to have this anxiety of like, oh no, what do I need to do next to get more? Oh no, there's more work involved. Oh God, if I don't complete this next task, and if I slip up, then I'm going to lose the very one little tiny little skerrick of self-love that I have left for myself. Here's something that's going to shock. I think, like, I've been talking about a lot of obvious stuff in this video, but here's the one thing that I will tell you that'll probably shock you. And that is that being productive will not make you happy. As I've been rising out of my depression and I've been accomplishing the things that I've wanted to accomplish, I realize that every single time I accomplish those things, I just get this little pat on the back from myself, and it means nothing. It really doesn't satiate me, deep down here. And one of the things that I have been learning in just the last week, and the reason that I'm only making this video now, because I have finally started to gain traction, and it's only because what I am saying and what I've been doing has been working that I feel like I now have a true authority to speak on this topic. What I've noticed is that as I've slowly but steadily been learning to just love myself, for no good or apparent reason, just accept myself and provide myself love all the time, just for being, just for existing, you know what I mean? I've noticed that because I'm not constantly working for my own love, my existence itself is just generally more pleasurable, and I am actually now doing the things that I authentically love to do. Like before, I could meditate for maybe like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on a good day. Just yesterday, or the day before, I don't know, it was in the past like 48 hours, I did 1 hour of meditation straight. That was insane, and I enjoyed it the entire time, and I realized the reason why I did was because I wasn't holding my own self-acceptance as hostage at the end of that hour. I was just constantly accepting myself, and I was in the zone. I was meditating only because I loved it. That's really the key here. Take that and apply that to all of the other methods that I've talked about, because they're great at giving you those sort of like extra little bits of leverage that you need. But holy shit, just really being okay with where you are now in life. That's the real key to being, to really getting over procrastination. If you're a depressed mess right now and you're sitting in your own bed thinking, like, God, I hate myself and I hate everyone and I hate everything and life's just awful and I could never ever do any of this stuff that this guy on the screen is talking about, like what, taking the recycling out in 3 minutes, that's amazing. And I know how that feels. I know how it feels to like only spend 3 minutes building up that motivation and then actually take out the recycling and be pouring it into the bin and just being like, holy fucking shit, you know? But really, you need to understand that where you are now is fine. You're just at a different stage of your journey. If you're a depressed mess, cool, awesome, accept that. And just do one thing today, you know? Really just be like, all right, okay, I'm fine where I am. It doesn't matter what happens. Because, again, being productive is not going to make you happy. Loving yourself, that's really what's going to make you happy. Make that your one and only thing that you need to stop procrastinating on, is just loving yourself. There's one more thing I want to say here. Oh yeah, okay, so this is just one, I know this is getting long, one little story, metaphor, example thing that I will use just to, give you a little kick in the butt. Science widely believes in the idea of parallel universes, right? If that's the case, there's a parallel universe where you are the worst version of yourself that you could possibly be, and that probably isn't, you can always imagine things being worse, right? So obviously we're not in that universe. And there's also a universe in which the best possible you exists, right? Who has just never made a mistake from the very day that they were born up until now, and is so far ahead of you that you will never catch up. If you can't even be the best version of yourself, if you can't even be the worst version of yourself, then whether or not you're productive on a day-to-day basis doesn't really matter. All that matters is, are you enjoying life? All that matters is, are you having fun? Are you generally enjoying the things that you're doing? You might say, oh yeah, I enjoy playing video games, and maybe that's true, but most likely the only reason that you're playing video games is to distract yourself from how awful you feel about what you're not doing, and yada yada yada. And again, distract yourself from the lack of love that you have for yourself. Again, take a deep breath, accept, fully love yourself. Everything's gonna pan out. I feel like I've gotten my point across. This video is long enough as it is. If you're still watching, thank you, a massive thank you. And I really hope that I've helped, because I know exactly what it's like to go through that sort of thing, and it's crippling. It's really crippling, and I don't want anybody else to have to suffer through that longer than I had. I don't know. My brain has turned to mush. This is over. This is the end of the video. Goodbye. I really hope you just. It's gonna sound corny, but I fucking love you. I love you. I love all human beings. I don't think they love me too much, but holy shit. Humanity. Awesome. Yep, definitely losing my mind. Bye.